Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Power Hour. My name is Chris Peters, and with me tonight is Mr. Kareem Mays. He's my co-host, and I have my good friend from Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Chrysler Kuba, with us tonight. And what we do here on the Entrepreneur Power Hour is we inspire people to think critically by asking them 5 challenging questions about different topics each week. And this week we're talking about developing expertise in your field. And I'm going to ask Kareem here first. What is the biggest difference between an expert and a beginner on a mental state when it comes to their select profession?
Thanks, Chris. One thing that's always got me is when I start to gain expertise in something, I take a totally different mentality towards it and a total different mentality to how I'm going to achieve goals. So what does that mean in a practical sense? When I started Entrepreneur, when I started trying to be a network marketer when I was like 22, 23, I didn't really take it seriously. I didn't go to calls much. I goofed off. I'd rather go out partying than do something like this. Like if a friend called, I would go do something quote unquote fun. When I became better and when I got more ideas about what I wanted to do and I really buckled down and said, okay, I've wasted too much time. Becoming an expert, one big thing is just saying I'm going to stay committed to doing maybe 2 blog posts a day, talking to 10 people in my business a day. And what that starts to do is it creates a new mental state, a new mental habit that I'm going to commit to small actions every day. And that's, in my opinion, how you slowly become an expert. That's how I learned instruments. That's how I got better at working out. And that's one difference I think you can start putting in your mind for entrepreneurs out there, is just to implement little steps of taking commitment to something every day. So that's my answer. Back to you.
Thanks, Kareem. And yeah, I mean, you gotta know what you're going for first. I mean, you gotta begin at something and grow at something before you're gonna get good at it. And you gotta take daily action. And this is one way that we are taking daily action. We kind of had to break out of the field we were in with that program we were in before, and we kind of had to say, this isn't the only way. There is other ways to be an entrepreneur. I think you got to take pieces of different things out there, and you got to mold them all together into kind of your own thing. And you got to be an innovator, and what we're doing here is innovative. Hopefully we'll have more guests on the panel, I'm hoping. But I want to ask Mr. Chrysler Kuba, my good buddy, thank you for being here, Chrysler.
Yes,
What is the biggest difference to you between an expert and a beginner on a mental state when it comes to their selected profession?
to me, from experience, I would say the habits. You know, the habit of a beginner and the expert. Because in any field, like you say, whether it's marketing or ministry, anything like that, you see the habits are different. Like for me in network marketing, it was hard. It was kind of tough for me to imagine me being on calls like this, or just reading books that anybody telling you to, or just constantly marketing. But the expert, obviously, he's doing it 24/7, and it's really no big deal to him. So I think, of course, that's definitely what separates both of them. And I think you have to be able to kind of develop the habits and fall in love with that grind, doing those things nobody's seeing. For instance, shoot, I was watching the game a couple nights ago. LeBron James, my boy, killing it. Even though they lost, but it's all good. It's all good. But what I liked was I was watching with my dad, and it's
Cool.
funny how people talk a lot of smack about LeBron James, but I remember just thinking in my head, I had like this crazy thought. I was like, when I think of being an NBA player, I'm thinking about being like LeBron. The first thing I'm thinking of, signing autographs, scoring 35 points a game effortlessly, doing all that nice stuff. But I'm not thinking about starting on the bench. I'm not thinking about the time in practice. I'm not thinking about, playing in Atlanta, then the next day going to Dallas, and then the next day having to practice, and the next day having to eat healthy. I'm not thinking about those little habits that make you into an expert. You understand? So it's a big difference between the beginner and the expert, just how they operate habitually.
Cool. Absolutely. And I like what you said about LeBron James because, I'm more of a Kevin Durant fan for sure, but there, there's no arguing that LeBron James he's incredible. I mean, when you can single-handedly carry your basketball team to the finals. I mean, you look at Miami. They were there 3 years in a row because he was there. Now that he's not there, they didn't even make the playoffs this year. You look at how terrible a team Cleveland was. Now that he's back in Cleveland, they're in the NBA Finals. I mean, it's criminal how good he is. It's criminal. But that's what you need to do to be successful in life. You got to have that unquenchable thirst to get better at what you're doing all the time. And yeah, that's why we're doing this show every week. We're small right now, but I want to be as good as Kevin Durant and LeBron James at doing what we do here and bringing our message to people and bringing people in from all walks of life to hear what we have to say and to listen to what they have to say. So Chrysler, that was awesome. Great answer. And I'll ask you again, Chrysler, what are some important steps? Well, I guess I'll answer number one. I guess I should too. So for me, the difference for me between an expert and a beginner on a mental state is all to me it boils down to what you prioritize. Are you going to get up and play your Xbox for 6 hours before you get online and start writing a blog, or before you start talking to people you know about what you're doing? Are you going to, if you want to get fit, are you going to sit at home and eat a bag of chips or some donuts before you go out and run 3 or 4 miles? It's all boils down to prioritizing, and that's what starts to cultivate successful drive and habits in your subconscious mind. Is you have to behave as the person you want to be. You have to practice those conscious behaviors, and then your subconscious mind starts to take over and adopt those behaviors. So the effort you put into becoming what you want becomes effortless after a while because it's just second nature. You're just doing it. It's as natural as breathing to you. And I love the opening to NBA 2K14, which I have a copy of, and I have 13, and I have 15, and I have 12, and 9. So I'm a big fan of basketball, obviously. But I think that what he says at the beginning of 2K14, is to work the best, you have to work the hardest. You have to chase what seems impossible over and over and over again, because giving up is not an option. And if you have what it takes to make yourself great, then the rewards are endless. And he's right. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to work the hardest. You have to chase what seems impossible, because impossible, if you hyphenate that word, is I'm possible. So there is no actual word as impossible. It's I'm possible. And we watch sports and we envy those players and we go, man, I wish I could be that good at something. Well, you can. You can. You just have to put the same amount of effort into your chosen craft as they did, and you will become an expert in your field. So to me, that is the main difference, is drive. If you don't have the drive, don't even start, because that desire has to be in with you from day one to be the best and to ascend to greatness, or it's not going to happen. If your excuses overlap your drive to do it, you'll quit. So, number 2 is, what are some important steps you've taken, Chrysler, that you have? What are some important steps that you can take personally and for our viewers to become experts in their selected field?
Definitely seek help. That's a big one. Kind of reaching out to a mentor or somebody that's been doing it longer than you at the level you want to do that, and just ask them questions like, hey, how do I do this better? How do I market better? Or what are some things you're doing that I could do? Seeking help. Also, another thing too, because YouTube is a big thing. You think about YouTube, every single video about anything you want to find is on YouTube. And you said this as an example, instead of like playing Xbox, blog. Sometimes instead of watching a funny cat video or a video that's kind of idle at the moment, watch some YouTube videos on how to get things done. So that's That's one that actually has helped me out. Is just seeking help, talking to people that are already at that level. And because obviously just hanging out with them, you kind of get some of that aura back on yourself. So that's one thing I would say about that.
Thanks, Chrysler. And yeah, I agree. You got to have help. You got to have a team working with you. You got to have people who believe in what you're doing, and you got to share that vision. You've got to have a mastermind like Napoleon Hill talks about. And it's so imperative that you understand that you can't achieve success by yourself. And I think for our viewers, I want to stress that you got to have a team, and you got to be willing to ask for help, and you have to admit that you need help, because no successful person in this world did anything by themselves. So I want to ask Kareem now, what are some important steps that he's taken to develop expertise in his select field?
Thanks for the question, Chris. What I try to do every time I'm a beginner at something is find somebody who's already doing something at the level I want, or even more than I think the level is. Like if it's basketball, I would try and seek out LeBron James or Michael Jordan. If it's public speaking, I'd go to Les Brown or Tony Robbins and just watch what they do, observe what they do. And if it's at all possible, try and become mentored by them. I know Warren Buffett had great financial mentors. I know, what's his name? Donald Trump had great financial mentors. I guarantee LeBron James had a good mentor for basketball. Sidney Crosby had a great mentor for hockey. I just don't see those things as coincidences or those people superhuman anymore. I see those people seeking out a mentor as one way to do it. And then also not just seeking out a mentor, but they all play on teams. They all have people they work with, seeking out people who are like-minded individuals. And if you can do those two things, you'll probably be 60 to 70% better off just having the right mentor and the right team of people who have like-minded ideas. And the other steps you can take is to, as I said before, mentally discipline yourself that you're going to work on this thing for a specific amount of time. And even more importantly than that is to cultivate maybe an emotional response of how it will feel when you get your set desire. How's it going to feel when we have 10, 20 people here? How's it really going to feel when you get that goal, that amount of money, that free lifestyle that you want? So I think that's almost as important as doing the daily action, because when you can really feel the goal, you can really feel being an NBA star, you can really feel all those people in front of you, I think that's when the magic starts to happen. I really think that millionaires feel like millionaires before they're millionaires. They know it. It just happens to manifest in a physical form. And I'm not talking necessarily about the secret as just writing it down on a paper. I am talking about taking daily action. But it's as important as to feel where you're going through. So I'd say the steps for me is to get a good mentor, get a good group around that mentor, people you're working with, kind of like what we're doing here. Feel the emotional feeling of the goal you want and take daily action. So those four things, I think, can make a huge difference. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it makes all the difference. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kareem. Absolutely. I'm going to ask Chrysler here. Number 3 here. Well, I guess I should answer number 2. I always forget that. I haven't done the interviewing much, so whatever. So for me, some important steps I've taken to develop expertise is determination. I'm never going to quit doing this until we're got 1 million viewers or more, or we've got 1 million subscribers or more. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it takes. For me, persistence is everything. And I had to persist to become a musician. I've had to persist to achieve a lot of things in my life, and this is no different. So I think that persistence is the most important step. And developing persistence comes through following through with what you're going to tell yourself that you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you don't, you're just lying to yourself, first of all. And people aren't going to trust you if you don't follow through on your words. So if you tell your buddy, hey, I'll meet you for lunch today, and we'll go over some stuff, and we'll hang out, we'll have a beer, whatever the case may be, if you don't show up, you're telling the universe that it can't trust you. You're also telling the universe that you don't trust yourself. So I think one of the most important aspects of taking those steps would be following through with what you say and what you tell yourself you're going to do. Because no one's going to take you seriously as a person if you don't follow through on what you say you're going to do. It's easy to say something, it's another thing to do it. Actions always have spoken louder than words. And, you know, for me, I've always believed that you gotta be what you say you are, and you gotta hold your word. I mean, that's integrity. And on the internet, especially, if you don't have integrity and follow through, and you're not consistent in your actions, you're not going to draw an audience. YouTube is all about drawing an audience, and it's really hard for that to resonate with people if you're not consistent and you're not doing what needs to be done to draw that audience. So that's how I feel about it. And I'm going to ask Mr. Kuba how he feels that working with an influential mentor has made a big difference in becoming an expert in what he's doing.
Shoot, that is an awesome question, Chris. Because, Chris, with a guy like yourself, Chris, now, but on a serious note, it just, because there's so much knowledge that needs to be learned when you learn any craft. I mean, like we're talking about basketball now. I mean, there's so many things that you need to know. And seeking a mentor that's been doing it for years and is still doing it, because I think there's a difference between a mentor and a coach. You know, a coach is somebody that has done it. Now he's just showing you how it's done. A mentor is somebody still doing it actively, just showing you how it's done. I think by watching and by listening, you can gain so much more knowledge in a 5-minute conversation than you would doing it in 5 years. You know, so seeking a mentor, my expertise has helped because, like I said, I mean, in a 5-minute conversation, I already know the know-how and the nitty-gritty detail on how to market, or you know, how to market yourself, or how to even think. You know, actions to take, actions not to take. I already know it like that. Now imagine how much more I can know if I continue to stay close to that mentor, have conversations with that mentor, and implement what they're telling me to do. You know what I mean? I mean, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. But one thing I have learned, though, is to actually, Chris was talking about action more than words. To me, it really is important to not just listen to what the mentor is saying, but actually apply it. You know, apply that knowledge. Because the more you apply that knowledge, I mean, sky's the limit. You know, you start seeing things manifest, you know. So, obviously, Chris is gone, but what about you, Kareem? What are some of your thoughts on that subject?
Okay, with me, a mentor basically, well, Chris is my mentor and other mentors I've had.
You too.
They keep me showing up to doing what I'm doing. And there's a big influence when you see somebody, an expert, and you're like, I want to be like that guy. If LeBron James was mentoring you at basketball, you're like, I want to be like that guy or better than that guy. If you have nothing to compare it to, then you might not start or you might not work as hard. And I know that when like you have a personal trainer, there's people like watching you when you're doing a workout and they're really looking for you. You work out harder. And I don't think it's any different. If Chris said like, oh, I can't do the power hour, I wouldn't be much motivated to do it myself, because let's say he doesn't show up and nobody else shows up, I'd be doing a hangout by myself, which would be kind of weird. People might start to think I'm schizophrenic, but a mentor brings out the best in you. It's kind of like the Karate Kid, which I know that's an interesting example to bring up. It's a movie I really liked as a kid because he needs help getting away from these bullies and standing up to these bullies, right? So what does Mr. Miyagi do? He makes him sand the floors, literally, of his house, and he makes him wash his car for no money. Which you guys think, that's not a good mentor. That's like slave labor, making me work for no money. That sucks. And then at the end, he's like, show me sand the floor, and he's like doing wax on, wax off. And I went to actually an MMA class, and go figure, that is a real way to block a punch. But regardless of that, regardless of him making him do all that work, those motions he learned while washing the car and while sanding the floors actually made him into a seasoned martial artist. Now, is that probably a good thing to do at a dojo? I doubt it. But the point in the Karate Kid still remains that Mr. Miyagi, even making him do stuff he hated, that one kid, brings out the, best warrior in him. And sometimes your mentor may push you to do some things you don't want to do. They might say you have to follow a specific diet, or you can't pursue certain lifestyle choices. You can't go out partying every Saturday night. But the reality still remains that without some of these great mentors that people have had, I think the world would be a much different place. So to find a good mentor means that it can mean the difference between successful and unsuccessful, or committed or uncommitted. And when you want to become an expert in your field, seek out someone like Mr. Miyagi. Seek out someone who's going to make you maybe do some uncomfortable things, jump out of your comfort zone, but really make you into the man or woman you want to become. So I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thanks, Kareem. And yeah, I mean, mentors are so critical. I think that Marcia Sortino, and she hasn't come on the panel yet, but she's kept me in check. And sometimes I'm too much of an opinionated person for my own good, and I've said things at certain times and that have not been the best. And when it comes to my overall presence online, and she's made me aware of a lot of different things that I had to correct and get better at. And I think that mentors are incredible people, and you got to understand, when a mentor is constructively criticizing you on something, they're not attacking you. They're saying, hey, change this because it's going to pay off if you do what I tell you to do. If you want to be successful, you have to do the things that I've done to become successful, because you want to model yourself after your mentor and your behaviors and your habits when it comes to your chosen field, whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur. You've got to have someone who's done it before and succeeded before. So having a mentor is absolutely critical, and it makes all the difference in becoming an expert, because you got to learn from them and what they've done to become experts and adopt those behaviors and those habits and practices. So I want to move on here and ask Mr. Chrysler Kuba what he feels what benefits he's experienced after becoming the expert in the field he's chosen at this point. What do you feel about that, Chrysler?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, one, it goes back to what we said about a mentor and the importance of a mentor. You start to see the fruit. You start to see what they say is going to happen in your own life. You become much more knowledgeable and much more confident in what you're doing. For me, my field obviously is a ministry, but just working with people in general, counseling, and just doing life with people, relationally. Growing up, I was always sort of laid back, like real quiet. Wasn't really a people person. But it's funny, like as time goes by, having people in your life that push you a little bit, and then when you choose a field, choosing a mentor in that field, and then when you apply that knowledge again and again and again, now it's habitual. And another thing about just in general about the subject, I would say, man, I mean, I'll just go back to, you just feel confident. and you're knowledgeable, and you don't, especially in multi-level marketing, it's like you're flying on an airplane and you can see, how the state actually looks like from the outside in. When you're in it, you don't notice certain buildings. When you're in an airplane, it's like, oh wow, I can see everything. Look at this. And it's funny because ever since Chris was my mentor and opened my eyes and my mind to a lot of things, I mean, before I would get thousands of emails. I don't even know how, but I would just get emails and I would get Facebook messages. Hey, man, want to make $5,000 in one day? Yo, man, check out my link, da da da. And I'd fall for it because I was like, well, I'm looking for money, but whatever. You know what I mean? But then when I got plugged in with Chris and just, mentoring in general, my eyes were open. When somebody would send me a message, I would say, this guy here, now that I know, I don't have to fall for that little scam. And it saves so much time, man, honestly, because when you don't know, I mean, you're just open. You're like a little kid in a park. You're just like, oh, this looks cool. This looks cool. You don't even know you're running in danger. So that's definitely a big benefit. Just being confident, you know what you're doing, you see the bigger picture, so you can move a lot faster too. Like if you were to start a new business or start anything else like this show we're doing on YouTube, it's gonna blow up. Because with everything we've learned in the past, we cannot implement it. We're not so much in the dark anymore. Because we actually have knowledge, how to talk with people, how to market ourselves. We have that knowledge. And we have it at such a comfortable rate that we can go, even though we may not know how to get somewhere, we know how to do it and where to start. Then the rest opens up after that. As opposed to saying, hey, dudes, let's start a YouTube show. I don't know how to, but let's do it anyway, and that's good too. But back to the other question: if you have a mentor and you learn and you experience, you can move much more faster and save yourself some time. So that's all I got to say about that. Like Forrest Gump would say.
Cool. Right on. Yeah, I mean beneficial mentoring is absolutely imperative. I mean, you can't do something if you don't know what you're doing. You gotta have the education. You gotta have people who've done it before and said, hey, this is what I did, and I can teach you these skills that I learned from my mentor, and I can teach you. Mentoring is all about duplication. You gotta be able to duplicate those efforts. So I'm gonna ask Kareem now what he feels, what benefits he's experienced as he becomes an expert in this field. What are some benefits you've been experiencing, Kareem?
Hey, thanks for the question, Chris. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert at the level that I want to become. So I'll say, yeah, becoming an expert. But I'm going to talk about two areas. One is public speaking, and the other is designing WordPress websites. When I actually started giving speeches in front of people, this coming from a guy who was introverted, scared of audiences in his teens and when he was a kid, that didn't want to even face up to people on a camera, let alone audiences of hundreds or thousands of people. When you give a speech and people really like what you had to say, and you generally get compliments, you almost get this shock. You're like, wait, is this really happening? Actually, even an area I didn't think of, I play music with a band, and we're going to play our first festival tomorrow, and I'm still trying to pinch myself. Is this real life? Like, is this really happening? And that almost happens when you become maybe not even an expert, but when you start to get better in your field and you see these things that, oh, really, I am playing for the Miami Heat. This is really happening. I'm not dreaming. I am really giving a speech. I am really a leader in network marketing. It's kind of crazy because one day you wake up after taking these little actions, after working with your mentor, and you notice that amazing things have happened. And with designing WordPress websites, when I first started, I was having trouble with the posts and the blogging. Now I'm helping Chris set up his website. I've set up my own. I've set up the one with a power hour. And it comes out really good. And I'm like, wait, I really did this. The thing I said that I thought was impossible, that I didn't think I was really an expert in, and I'm going to say I'm not, but I'm getting better at. I'm moving to a level of expertise. When you start to see these little gains, in music or public speaking or WordPress or whatever it is you do, you start to, even more than achieving the thing, you get the feeling of achieving the thing. It's all about feelings, because at the end of the day, you want to do something because ultimately it'll make you feel better. So when I played my first, I don't know, 3 chords on the guitar, to me that was monumental. Now that's not really difficult, and I can do that without looking. But it was that feeling, I'm like, oh, I really can do this. I made some progress. And then when you become an expert and you see like, oh, I can really be proficient at this field, and I can really get the feeling of inspiring people, or I can really get the feeling of making an awesome website, or playing an awesome song on guitar, or doing whatever it is you do, being a great minister and saying like, I have hundreds of thousands of people that tune in to listen to me every day. That, you can't really put a price tag on that, and that's really just a benefit of becoming an expert. Like I know LeBron James has had tons of benefits of becoming an expert in and of itself, and I think one of the biggest things is he gives back to people. He's able to give back, which is much more than just buying a mansion. So it's really the feeling you get once you get over that obstacle, and then you jump over an obstacle, and eventually you're pushing mountains just by, creating a strong belief system. So that's some of the benefits I've got as I'm becoming an expert.
Yeah, that's very, very good answers from both you gentlemen. For me, I think the more you become knowledgeable in what you're doing, the more people gravitate towards you. For instance, you look at someone like Michael Jackson, okay? And I actually like some of his music. It's suffice to say, because you look at you look at the video for They Don't Care About Us, and it's set in, I don't know exactly the location, but there's like a whole black community. I think it's somewhere in Jamaica. And, Michael Jackson was one of the most powerful artists in the early 1980s, and he made social, the things in our society, he made people aware of things, and the social commentary he provided was unbelievable. I mean, you look at the abuse he suffered in his family, being part of the Jackson 5. He was very abused. He was very, his dad hated him. His own father hated him. And you look at how much he cared about people and how much he inspired people to change. I mean, if you want to become an expert in your field, you have to be able to motivate people. I think that is the greatest reward in becoming an expert in your field, is being able to motivate others. And same thing with basketball players, or anything that you do that you become an expert in. If you can help people with it and motivate them, I think that makes you greater than anybody with all the money in the world. And it's definitely more influential, more positive, and definitely going to have a greater effect on the paradigm of change. And I mean, it's incredible how far we've come in technology, but it's also incredible how much technology has blinded us from certain things and made it so easy to access information, to the point where there's a lot of information out there that's just completely useless to consume and to absorb. So you got to be very careful, and you got to filter things out and choose to be ignorant of certain things. Because ignorance is not stupidity. It's essential in this day and age, when we're flooded with so much information. We're flooded with so much media and so much crap, that we've got to put that filter on and go, no. All I care about is helping others and being that positive inspiration, and that's how I see Michael Jackson. And he was a great artist, and he really cared about people, and he gave money to children's charities. He gave money to like black communities that were suffering from where he came from. I mean, he was an incredible person, and he wasn't in it for the money. You look at how much work goes into Michael Jackson's videos, and how much work he put into his career. That was not about money at all. that was not about money. So I think he had a lot of integrity, and yeah, there were allegations against him for certain things that I don't believe, because the news always lies. You know, you can't believe what the TV tells you, and I never will. That's the cool thing about being a critical thinker. If you believe the news, then the world's doing your thinking for you. So you definitely have to challenge those notions and what challenge what you're experiencing every day, and that's another thing that can make you an expert, is being a critical thinker. Because if you're not, then you're just going to be another sheep being led to slaughter, and you can't. You got to be a wolf, and you got to be willing to stand on your own 2 feet and stand alone for however long it takes till other, if you will, other wolves join your pack, and you form a group and you form an alliance together, and you change things. So to me, that's what it means to become an expert in the field, and that's what the benefit is the camaraderie and the respect that you command of other people, and they command respect and love from you. And I think that is the greatest reward for me for doing this show, is that camaraderie and bringing awareness to people that they don't have to work 9 to 5. They don't have to be slaves to the boss that berates them every day, belittles them, treats them like crap, or makes them work 70 hours a week so they don't get to spend any time with their family. I mean, can you imagine, being a mother, a mother to a newborn baby, and you got to go work 50 hours a week just to feed that child? I can't imagine what newborn mothers go through. That's terrible, and it doesn't have to be like that. Okay, remember, it does not have to be like that. So the benefits are endless if you know how to apply what it means to become an expert. You have to know how to apply that. So the next question I'm going to ask Mr. Chrysler Kuba, because I see Kareem's still not chilling out over there. I don't know where the hell he went, but there he is. But Chrysler, how long did it take for you to become a minister? And because it says expert here, but you're obviously not an expert yet. You're evolving, you're growing, you're learning more about what you do. How long did that take for you to discover that that's what you wanted to do with your life? And how did all that get started, Chrysler?
First of all, I just noticed I could press the button and put the screen up there. That's one.
Yep.
Second of all, man, I remember 17 years old, man. 17 years old is when I got locked up. 2 burglary charges. I was pretty lost, man. I'm not gonna lie. Drugs. Just had a really detached attitude towards everything, And obviously, Chris knows, that's when I found God. That's when I really found Christ, and everything became different from then on. The way I thought about myself, about life, about God, about people. But it wasn't. I knew I wanted to give people hope. Especially in my community where, now I have 2 parents, a father and a mother, happily married. But I know in my community there's not a lot of that. A lot of them have lost hope. They fit in. They're fed. They're so fed by what they've been told in media that they're just lost. But it wasn't until 19, man, 19, where I said I want to be a minister. I want to do ministry. And it's an interesting question, Chris, because I believe a minister, quote, quote, I don't have to be in the pulpit to be ministering to people. I can do it every day. Looking at somebody in the eye saying, you're somebody. You matter. God loves you. You can do it. Having conversations with people. Not necessarily like preaching at people, but talking to people. Doing life with people. Looking at the people that most people don't really care about, saying, hey, you're somebody. You're a human being just like me. You matter. And 19 years old was when I made that decision. And what's interesting about that decision as well is I don't think any of us will get to a place, we can call ourselves experts, but I don't necessarily think we'll get to that place where we go, okay, I made it, nothing to worry about, it's all good. I think it's, you just continue to grow, man. You continue to grow, you enjoy what you do, and you get better and better. And I think the moment you kind of get complacent and say, "Yeah, I'm an expert. I made it. It's whatever," I think that's when you begin to fall. Because it starts with pride, and after that, you fall down. But hopefully I didn't rabbit trail too long. But to answer your question, man, just every day. I mean, just learning from my mistakes, learning from people, and just taking action. Helping people, bettering myself, discovering new things about myself, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop at all. I will say I can relate to Kareem though. I was never a shy person. I was just more comfortable being myself around people I knew. But when I got around strangers, I'll just be like, nah, I don't know you like that. But after a while, just like Kareem said, doing a public speech or leading a Bible study or just talking in general to strangers, sharing a product, sharing an idea, it got better and better and better and better. And I could say, I could look at myself before, look at myself now and go, wow, I grew. And I think that's just the feeling, man. It's addictive. You want to keep growing. Because, back to question number 4, the more I grow, I can help other people around me grow. You know, so that's how I can answer that question.
Brilliant. I love it. Very good answer. Yeah, and it's absolutely everything you said is true. So true. So, Kareem, what do you think? I mean, how long has it taken you to grow into this person that you're growing into, and um, what you're doing now, and what you're ascending to with our show, and what we're going to be doing with Pay Me What I'm Worth, and I did tell Chrysler about that as well. And he's interested in joining it when he's got the funds and everything, which is cool. But Kareem, I mean, how did all this get started? I mean, where did you get started knowing that you wanted to become an entrepreneur? And what do you think it's all about?
Thanks for the question, Chris. I think I started maybe when I was 21, 22, because I had told myself when I finish college I'll get a degree and I will just sit in front of the computer and I'll make a ton of money and it'll be great. And I did do that. I actually did do that. It did happen. The problem is I found that if you've seen the movie Office Space, which I think I'm going to assume everybody has, it became a factor of like day in, day out. Come back, eat food, go to work, go to sleep, do it all over, do it all over. And yeah, people are telling you you're successful, but it really doesn't feel like that because you have no time to enjoy your quote-unquote success. So maybe 21, 22, I started trying things with network marketing, and I started trying to do different ventures that I had no idea about because I would get stupid messages like make this amount of money in this amount of time, and I actually did believe that. The problem is though, to really make, and some things are illegal and some things are legal in that realm of network marketing, but when you're doing something legitimate like this, or you're doing something like your own business, like I'm working with people, public speaking, or Pay Me What I'm Worth, you have to know that success isn't necessarily going to come overnight. Generally, it doesn't. Not to put a damper on things, but I know some people, and this happens a lot in network marketing or other things. They'll give it a go. They'll jump out of the tortoise shell for 2 weeks and go like, man, I passed out all these flyers. I did this. I wrote down a list of my family and friends. I sold one product. I don't have that car in the background. Is this a scam? But you wouldn't treat anything like that. Like, you wouldn't go to the gym and do 10 push-ups and be like, I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is a scam. And I think that's happened in our society where people put in like 2 days of work, or they'll do like with this, they'll like maybe do 2 shows of the Power Hour and be like, I'm not rich. This is a scam. These guys aren't entrepreneurs. They don't have like millions of it. I'm like, give it a couple of months. Give it some time. And for me, to get to where I could speak in front of an audience confidently, I think it took 20 years maybe. I didn't work at it for 20 years, but I worked at it periodically through those 20 years, so I could do it now efficiently. With network marketing, I'm not an expert. I think it'll take, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years. blogging, I'm not an expert, but I know it's going to take a while to really get that thing to work. And the reason I wrote this question is because there's a lot of people that are very flaky when they try something new, but then they don't see the results necessarily of people who are experts at it, and they don't see the results that they want in maybe the time period they expect. I mean, to go back to basketball, that'd be like, ooh, I slam dunked and I shot 2 things. Can I join the Miami Heat? And they're like, no. Why don't you do that for like, I don't know, your whole high school career, 17 years, then come back to me. So how long did it take me? It took me 20 years maybe to get where I'm at. I'm not an expert, quote unquote, an expert yet. And I do believe what Chrysler said, you shouldn't label yourself an expert, but someone who's proficient and a lot of people know is what I'd say. So I know it's going to take time. It's taken me like 20 years to get to one position. It took me a couple of years to get good at WordPress, so 2 or 3 years. It's likely going to take some years or months to really get good or something. And I think I read a book on expertise that said, even if you're completely untalented, generally it takes 100,000 hours of dedicated work to get good at something. So that's a rough idea of how long it's going to take if you're not good at the thing that you're trying to do at all. So thank you for that question.
Okay, and yeah, for myself, I mean, this has been just every day. It's just a journey. I'm just going the distance. I'm traveling down the road. I got my girlfriend in the Philippines who just thinks the world of me. Very happy about that. And that's one area of my life where I finally have success is with women. Well, the one woman I want. I led a very, very destructive life with females for a lot of years. I was sleeping with them instead of dating them, and not very smart. But I found the girl I really want to be with now, and I went through a lot of bad relationships, and I think that was par for the course for what I was doing at the time, and it wasn't very good for me, and it just kind of all cultivated into, I was working crappy jobs I didn't like, I was doing drugs, and just hanging out with the wrong people. And when my wife left me back in 2007, my first serious, real, crazy, passionate relationship, I was very in love with her. It changed me. It changed me into a very different person, and I was not a very happy guy for a lot of years. I was pretty bitter and hateful. Then I realized, okay, well, this isn't working. I hate my job. I can't stand my life. I can't even stand to get out of bed most days. I got to do something about this. There's something needs to change. So I began to look into growing. First, I got into martial arts, which I still do. Love martial arts to death. Isshinryu karate is the style I practice. So I got into that, and that started to help. And my sensei handed me a DVD called The Secret. So I popped it in, I watched it about 10 times in one night. And of course, after the first time I watched it, I just was like, really? Is that possible? Is the law of attraction real? Do we really manifest what we experience? And of course, in the back of my mind, I always knew that. I always had this intuition that we do create our reality. And of course, mine was not the reality I wanted. I was losing the girl that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I was very depressed, anxiety-ridden, suicidal, drunk, and doing drugs all the time. So I knew something had to change. So I watched this DVD. And I saw people like Bob Proctor, Joe Vitale, Jack Canfield, and many others in this program. And Bob Proctor is one of my favorite people in the field of success and personal development. He's He's the master thinker. I mean, if you want something explained to you about the laws of the universe, that's the guy you guys need to be looking up, because Bob Proctor's incredible. And I wanted to take his elite coaching program, but it's $6,000. So once I've got that kind of money, then I'll enroll in it, because I don't care how much money I have to invest in myself. I want to be as inspirational as someone like Bob Proctor, and I want to share that kind of abundance and success with all my heart. I love these guys. I mean, that's why I want them here. That's why I'm friends with these guys, and I'd give them the shirt off my back, or if they needed that. And that's the kind of person you have to be to become an expert. You have to have compassion. You can't be a selfish person and become an expert in anything, because to become an expert in something, you have to give. First of all, you have to give yourself. So selfish people, they can't become experts at anything other than sociopathic behavior. Maybe that's not really a successful element of human existence, but so it's very important to me that I keep doing what I'm doing with the show. I keep friends like Chrysler and Kareem, who are very positive people, who can help me in times when I may not be in the best of moods, or I may be, maybe they can see something that I can't see about my situation, or maybe they have something to teach me that I haven't learned yet. And that's what it takes. You have to have humility and be willing to learn from other people, and be willing to drop your ego. No, it's not bad to have pride. It's not bad to have an ego, but it's bad to let that control you. It's bad to be so ego-bound and so proud that you say, nope, I don't need help. Nope. No, you don't know what you're talking about. My life's great. Meanwhile, perfect example, guy sitting there saying his life's so great, just finished a 40 of Jack Daniels before you walked in the door. Well, I would be pretty, I would say he doesn't have his life together. If he needs to down a 40 of Jack Daniels at 6 o'clock at night, and say something's wrong, right? So very important that you keep people in your life that are positive, and that you are a positive person. And you can't be like Buddy, who just chased down a bottle of whiskey because his life sucks. That's not a good person to model yourself after. I'm kind of getting abstract here, but that's fine. That's the way my brain works, so whatever. But that's what it takes. And you gotta love who you're working with. You have to be about their success, and you have to inspire them, and you have to teach them, and you have to learn from them. To me, that's what it takes to become an expert in the field of being entrepreneurial, a public speaker, a counselor, a musician, a minister. Doesn't matter what it is. Your audience, your followers, are the people who are paying you. They're paying you. They're responsible for your living. Once you lose them, you're gonna have to go work a job again, where it doesn't matter if you're respectful to your coworkers. You just can't be disrespectful. But it doesn't matter if you love your coworkers or your boss. As long as you show up for your shift, you put in your 8 hours, you make your $700 every 2 weeks, or someplace you might make more. Just a rough number, right? So if you want to break beyond that, then you got to develop those relationships. You've got to have that camaraderie. So, but I want to ask Chrysler again here. What he said he told us that he really enjoys being a minister. What are some of the greatest rewards you've gotten so far from teaching the Word of God and spreading your beliefs and doing what you do? What are some of the rewards you've experienced in your growth process, Chrysler?
Well, I'll start with myself, man. I used to struggle with a lot of things. Drugs was one of them. Weed and pills, prescription pills, that was a big one. Kind of just seeing God do work in my life in that area, and then just sharing that with other people, seeing them be free from that stuff, And it's like the universe really does work like that, Chris. I mean, when you give, you get back. And I think even before, when I gave people hell, when I gave them an attitude, or when I just didn't enjoy, when I was just kind of just a douche to people, it's like life would give that to me, whether it's through other people or just through circumstances. So when I just began to give love, give people value, it's weird because they may get the value, but it's like I would get more of it as well. Just saying hello to people at Walmart, loving people, and growing myself and giving back to people, and not just ministry, but business as well. Giving people knowledge on how to market themselves, how to market their product, just everything in general. It's like you get more of that. More of that comes back to you. Because honestly, I mean, I've had some interesting things I got to do. I got to go to Vegas. I got to work some business conferences with my school, and it's interesting because we did a lot of things that involved standing up a lot, and wearing a shirt that says "Ask Me." So I would just sit there in front of escalators with a shirt that says "Ask Me," and then people would just ask me questions like, "Hey, which way is the ballroom seat?" or "Which way is the restroom?" Just questions left and right. Some of the students that are working with me, they had moments where they caught attitude, where they said, "What kind of job is this? I don't feel like doing this." I remember kind of sitting there, not with the fake smile, but I would suck it up and say, "You know what? Let me go the extra mile. Let me not just sit there and wait for somebody to ask me something. Let me pay attention to every single person I see." I will see a woman looking down at her phone, looking confused. I'll say, "Excuse me, ma'am, can I help you?" And I think just giving that, not because I wanted something back, but just giving the full me, being present. One day when I own a business and I'm the one that's hosting a business conference or anything, I want to hire people that have that same attitude, probably more. So a lot of the benefits I'm getting is even right now, guys like Chris and Kareem, who I just met today. And by the way, it's Kareem's birthday. I don't know where he is right now, but it's his birthday. He's like, what, 23 years old? There he is. It's his birthday. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Just having guys like Chris, this moment right now, even the people watching, this moment right now, if you have people around you and you feel like they're not paying attention to you, what have you been giving them? Having a mentor like Chris, because there have been times where I wasn't, the most receptive student of Chris, but he would continue to reach out continuously. And now this is what he's reaping. This is what I'm reaping, you know. So man, the big benefit, man, is don't do things just because you want something back, but do it just because you get joy out of it. I mean, you grow out of it, and then you'll reap. I think one of you two said it earlier, man. I forgot what you said, but kind of ran out of my mind. But anyway, that's just all it's about, man. I mean, even trying to grow my business, trying to grow as a person, I'm helping people because now I can give people knowledge so they can go out and do it themselves. Instead of just, hey guys, I'm rich, follow me. Like I don't want followers, don't follow me. I prefer people to follow God. But I want to help people get it their own. I want people around me to look at me and go, man, Christ, like, look at your business, you're getting all this money, you got mad discipline. I mean, you're doing things people are not doing. Don't mind the noise, that's just my family. But I want to be able to tell them, hey, here's how I did it. Here's the knowledge. Now do it yourself. I don't want people to follow me. I don't want people to think craziness about me. I just want people to be able to do what I'm doing. So that's what it's about, man. I mean, that's a great feeling for me. For my mom to say I'm proud of you, to help my mother out. For my friends to go from here to here. For strangers, who may feel hopeless, who may feel like they can't do anything, for them to look at me and my lifestyle and say, you know what, he came from jail? He's 21 years old, he's making this much money, or he's doing it, I can do it. Because that's the kind of people I'm inspired by anyway. I'm inspired by people that are doing things beyond my imagination. I look at them and go, if they can do it, I can do it. So, it's just that reward, man. Just right now, being able to sit back, a year ago, I was in jail, man. I didn't mention I was there twice. The first time was 2 weeks. The second time was 13 months. And this is almost a year and a couple months I've been out. A year and a couple months. A year and a couple months out of jail. I did 13 months in there. Ladies and gentlemen, I have my high school diploma. It's actually right behind me. I just graduated a 9-year program in a Bible school. And now I'll be going back in 3 months from now. I'm becoming an entrepreneur. I'm learning. I'm growing myself. I mean, that reward alone, Chris and Kareem, that right there, that's what it's all about. Being able to go, this is where I was. Look at where I am now. And look at where I could possibly keep going if I keep growing. That's what it's about, man. Like, that's just a beautiful feeling. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror, I'm like, I'm not the same person I was a year ago, even a couple months ago. It's just that feeling, man, that feeling of constant growth and just helping yourself and helping people. That's what it's all about, man. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks. Wow. Right on, Christ. I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome. So I want to wrap it up by asking Kareem what he feels, why he wanted to get started in doing what he does with the show and public speaking, and why did you get started with entrepreneurial? Why did you get started doing this, and what does it mean to you to keep doing this and keep going towards what you're going for?
Thanks. I got to start doing it because I realized that, hey, you have a choice. A lot of people don't see that. A lot of people tell you, well, it's either 9 to 5 or there's really nothing else. Or you have to do set A, B, C, D to do your life, to get your life straightened out. I remember a lot of people telling me, well, do you want military or college? And at that time, I'm like, college? And I wish it would dawn to me if I could go back in time and say to myself, wait, you can speak in public, you can do network marketing, you can do your own business, you can, whatever it is, there's so many avenues to list them would take forever. You could do a show where you bring entrepreneurs together every Saturday and talk. Nobody alluded to that time. Now, Google Plus was not around at that time, but I still could have found out a way to do it. So, to me, the reason I became an entrepreneur is I realized I had a choice. Now, it's not necessarily a choice that one day I can say, like, ooh, I'm free from my job and everything. But if I put in the time, figure out what I need to do, refine the areas that I'm not working so well, I can do it. It's not impossible, and it's something that is really obtainable, something that feels really good when you go for it. And the reason I keep doing it is because I enjoy doing this. On my birthday, I could have been out partying, I could have been out drinking, and there's a reason that I'm here. There's a reason that we're all here, and I think it's really to better people's lives. And by doing that, our lives get better, as Chrysler mentioned. So that's why I'm doing it. Why I got started in public speaking is, funny enough, I didn't want to do it, but I was a computer science major in college, and to me, I had to graduate at that time. I had to get a degree because I was afraid I was going to work at Wendy's if I didn't. And one of my classes was a business class, right, where we had to give a speech. And not only do we have to give a speech, we had to give a speech about the project we did in front of, like, business professionals, people who were really good, really astute with their own businesses, people who at that time, I was 21, 22, were worlds ahead of me in what they were doing successful and financially. And they were sitting, like, grilling with questions, and they're like, Kareem, and to my effect, I partied a lot in college, so a lot of other people worked on the project and I didn't. I'm not proud of that, but I put in some good effort, and they're like, you're going to answer these questions for the business professionals. We don't want to. I'm like, I'm not really good at public speaking or talking in front of groups. This is not going to end well. I mean, I came from being 5 years old to pulling shirt over my head, how scared I was of audiences. So I said, okay, I'll answer these questions for the business professionals, but I'm not going to guarantee anything's going to work. So we get there. It's the day I have my tie and suit on. I'm like, okay, answer the questions. And I guess I kind of got into a rhythm with some things I did. I got into the right state, and I was able to answer the question one after one, and it came pretty good. Then they answered one. They gave me one last question, and nobody wanted to answer it. And I just kind of they deferred to me. They said, "How would you keep your business, like, working in times of economic downturn and customers really aren't responding?" And I just said, I would talk to my customers. I'd let them know who I am, what I'm doing, and I'd persist and see what changes I need to make in the products. And really, it's just about persisting and seeing what people and what trends will work in the market. And then my business teacher looked over. He's like, that's a computer science major answering that question, which I guess reinforced the stereotype because I was introverted. I was scared. And then people after that said, Kareem, you did really well, and Kareem, you did a good job. And a similar thing happened when I presented my graduation project a couple of weeks ago. They're like, ooh, you did pretty good. You sound kind of like a professor when presenting that. I was kind of scared when doing that too. And I got surprised. I'm like, maybe I'm good at public speaking. Now I'll go in the cubicle and do my work. And I did until one of my friends is like, Kareem, I heard you're a good public speaker from some of your friends in college. Come to Toastmasters, just give your icebreaker, which is your first speech, where you just talk about yourself. I said, okay, I'll do it. I can't guarantee that I'll come out good, but I'll give you a speech. I'll come make one speech. And I did, and a lot of people gave me some praise. Not that it was crazy overwhelming, but they're like, you're really good. You're really natural at this. You should keep coming back. I really enjoyed what you were talking about. You don't seem scared of doing it. Which, funny enough, you go to Toastmasters, you see that these are people who are speaking. You wouldn't think most of them are scared to do it, but there's a good number who are still going up there saying you have to get this over with. And I really don't believe that should be the attitude. It's something you should look forward to. I mean, you're not going to get good at working out if you think, oh, I just have to get it over with. I just have to lift weights and then I'll leave. It's a wrong attitude. And I was doing Toastmasters. I entered some speech competitions. I didn't win them, but I placed like second or third. Like, I'm not the expert yet, but I was getting really good. I was going through a speech a week, 2 speeches a week, without writing any notes, and I was getting good feedback. And for a lot of people there, it took them maybe 2 to 10 years, and I'm not bragging, but it took them 2 to 10 years to get through their 10 speeches, which is crazy. But eventually I got laid off, and I'm like, okay, I'm not close to any of those Toastmasters, and I was doing them in Pittsburgh. I'm not close to any of those Toastmasters where I'm at. What do I do? And I actually looked, and I found one close to where I live. But more importantly, I started a site called SpeakYourMindNow.com, and really I have some ideas, some products, and some podcasts. But really the main idea behind it is to use personal development like I did and some of the tactics I used to get good at public speaking and to really knock that fear away permanently so it's not something you have to do. In addition to that, I want to do, once people get good at public speaking, how to use that to finally nullify that 9-to-5 job if you don't want it. So that's just a brief story on like how I became an entrepreneur in the public speaking field and why I keep doing it, because I really love it, just like this show and everything else. Yeah. Can I show them our site, or do we just close it out?
Yeah, if you want to do that, that's fine, I guess. You've been doing that every show, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much. I just want people to know, like, oh, it is a real show. It has, real people, and then we discuss real issues, and we have a real site. Something about having a website seems to bring people, say, like, oh, it's legit, or more legit than it is. I'm just going to share my screen.
Whoa.
Wow, it's the Matrix, man.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it just says Google. Hangouts. Let me see. I might not be able to do it on this laptop if it asks.
Yeah, there we go. We got it.
Okay, cool. So, I'm going to open up a browser.
I got to make a phone call, so hold on a second. Or I have to, yeah.
Actually, no, it's not really working that well on my laptop for some reason.
Oh, it's all good.
So I'll actually just leave that out this show, and it is kind of late. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Power Hour. I hope you got some good information from the stories we tell, and we will see you next week.
All right.